Joe, you recently announced your intention to run for Pulaski County Board of Supervisors once again for your second term.
Correct?
What are you most proud of in your first term as far as accomplishments and things that you've done?
Sure. And first, just thank you for coming out here. Appreciate the opportunity to
Thank
speak
you.
with you and get the message out to the people of the county. It really means a lot to me. First, this is something that I like to do as my community involvement, and that's why I'm running for re-election. There's a lot of us that do things that we're involved in the community. Anybody that volunteers with any sort of group or church or coaches, that's all how we volunteer in our community. It helps make the community a better place. And this is Hunter the rescue dog, Adam. And he's a great addition to our family. And this is what we do, or what I like to do for my part of that, is this elected office. I was asked to do it a few years ago, and it's been something I've really enjoyed, gotten a lot out of, and hope have done well. So that's why I'm asking the folks if they would please support me and vote for me again here in the Cloyd District. As far as accomplishments, we've had a lot of things that have gone very well for Pulaski County in the past 4 years, and I think people are really seeing that momentum that we're picking up on. I'd have to start out by saying the jobs and businesses that we brought to the county. I can't take credit for that personally. That was the Board of Supervisors, all of us working together along with our staff, and our staff have done a tremendous job at economic development, and that's one of the reasons why we brought Mr. Sweet, our new county administrator, here, was because of his expertise in that. So while we give a lot of credit for that, I think the board has offered a lot of direction and allowed our staff to do what they need to do to help to bring jobs here. We've lowered the unemployment rate from over 9% in Pulaski County to 3%. We led Virginia, the entire state of Virginia, in per capita economic development growth in 2017. And we're not done yet. We've got a lot of things in the pipeline that we're really excited about that we think will continue to be great for Pulaski County. And I've been working on those, looking forward to continue to working on those. That I think is certainly one big one. Another one that I look back on is, of course, the middle school bond referendum. And I was a very vocal supporter of that. That was a referendum that was passed unanimously by the Board of Supervisors, and then the voters approved it by a 2-to-1 margin. And now we're in the construction phase of the middle school. So that's exciting because, Adam, as we look at Pulaski County now, that was a problem that we needed to solve for a lot of reasons. And as I talked about with our declining unemployment, our need for an expanded workforce, our need for to grow our population, those things were being limited and held up by the problem that we had in having our old 60-year-old middle schools. And I studied that issue for 6 years on the Board of Supervisors and on the school board and on the Board of Supervisors. And the conclusion I came to was that there was only one choice, and that was a consolidated middle school as the best value proposition for the citizens and the taxpayers of the county. It gave us the best value for any money that we could spend for our long-term future. So that's certainly another accomplishment, and one again I look forward to working on. A third one that I want people to know more about, that some people may not be as aware of, is that I worked very closely with both the county and with the Virginia Outdoors Foundation to secure a donation of about 100 acres of open farmland right in the heart of the Fairlawn community. That land is going to be donated to the county from VOF, who inherited it from the previous owner, Mrs. Smith. And Miss Smith, Margaret Smith, left it to VOFs with the purpose of it remaining as open space or as a public park. And that's exactly how we're going to utilize it. So we're acquiring that donation again for 100 acres, and that's going to begin out with having a trail that's already in the planning stages, and will hopefully begin construction this year, may even be completed part of it this year. That'll go from Old Riverlawn Elementary School down to the river and eventually over to Hazel Hollow. That'll be the first of many amenities that we hope to have at the park. And we plan on working on that in the future with community members and seeing what other amenities we can bring to a new park in Fairlawn. Another accomplishment, of course, we as a Republican, something that's very important to me is that we maintain fiscal soundness in all of our government policies. We have balanced all of our budgets in the 4 years that I have been on the board without dipping into our reserve funds and without increasing our taxes, except for the bond referendum, which of course the voters approved. So that's something I want to continue in the future as well.
Well, Joe, we certainly do appreciate every great thing that you've accomplished. And
It wasn't me. It's the entire board and all of our staff too. But certainly we appreciate the comments.
We really appreciate your role and the involvement in those things. If you're reelected, what are some issues and some goals that you really feel like are hot buttons in Pulaski County that the board really needs to focus on in the upcoming term?
Sure. One that we really want to focus in on laser sharp is a program that we call 40 by 30. And by that we mean we want to grow Pulaski County's population to 40,000 people from its current level of about 34 or 35,000 up to 40,000 by the year 2030. Okay, and so this will take us through the first part of that growth phase. And we're doing that because we see the numbers. We see that we can provide the same level and quality of service to that number of residents that we are currently providing for 35,000 people for little or no additional cost, just by using the current infrastructure that we have. This is another important point. We had a school board meeting last night. We were talking about our school enrollment numbers. And we really need to get our school enrollment numbers back up because of funding from the state and because of keeping all of the jobs that we have here for the school system and running it well and effectively. This is a problem that's really affected all of rural Virginia, Southwest Virginia, Central Virginia, and other places where we've got declining populations or steady populations that are not growing and a declining student population. And so this is what we really need to address. And there's a lot of ways that you address that. You've got to compete against other localities to get people to live in your area. We used to think that just bringing jobs was enough, that people would come to where the jobs are. That's no longer true. We can bring the jobs, but people may not live here. They may choose to live somewhere else and still work here. So bringing the jobs is not enough to bring the people. We've also got to bring the quality of life. And what does that mean? One thing it means is quality education, quality schools. And the new middle school is a big part of that, but that's just a part of it. Having quality of life. We were talking about the park in Fairlawn a minute ago. Mm-hmm. Having good quality amenities for people to enjoy. And of course it all goes back to jobs as well, right? People have to have an economic base. I'd also like to see Pulaski County, this would be another big priority for me, is we need to increase the commercial businesses in the county. Restaurants, shopping. I don't want people in our county to have to go outside of our county to go shopping, to get the things they need, to go out to restaurants. I want that in Pulaski County, and I want us to have that for convenience and for the tax base and for the employment that it brings to our county. That's going to be another big party for me in the future as well.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll say that again, as I was saying before, all of that, while we're going to maintain our budgets without raising taxes in our community services. How are we going to do that? We're going to grow the economy. And we think that's the way to do things, particularly for me as a Republican. That's very important, is that we're trying to do economic development and growth and just encourage businesses. And we think that that's something that Pulaski County has a tremendous potential of just untapped resources that we can do so much more than we're doing now, and it's really exciting what we can accomplish in the future here.
Okay, awesome. Now, one specific issue that I just recently heard about is that some members of the board are considering health insurance for its members. Mm-hmm. Where do you stand on that issue? Okay. Do you think the board should have health insurance?
I'll give you a little background on that issue. So that was originally brought up 4 years ago with a question from the Board of Supervisors of could that compensation be changed? Could a board member's compensation be changed during their term if it was for health insurance and not for salary? And that question was asked by other board members who had been on before I was elected. I'm the only new member who wasn't on the previous term. And I was opposed to it then, and I'm opposed to it now. Our county attorney came back and said, no, you can't do that. It's still compensation, even though it's not salary compensation. The only appropriate time to do that would be in the final budget year before the next board is elected, and that's this year.
Okay.
So in keeping with that county attorney's opinion, it was brought back by staff to our January organizational meeting as a potentiality for something that could happen. Now, that would have to be budgeted and it would have to be passed by the board for it to go into effect. It would not affect this board, it would affect the board beginning in the next year for their 4-year term. Okay. Now, so some money has been budgeted for that by staff just in case it passes, and they need to be prepared if some board members take that. We don't know who or how many board members would take that because we don't know who will be on the next board. Right. And that's the whole point of passing something for the next board. I can't speak for the other 4 board members. No other board member has stated a position on the issue. I'm the only one that has stated a position, and my position is in opposition to it. And that's a philosophical as well as a financial and practical reason for me. We talked about earlier that this is a volunteer position. This is our community service work. This is not a full-time job for any of us. We all have other employment or other means of having our health care provided to us. I certainly do, and I'm very fortunate that I do have that. And because it's a part-time and volunteer activity, we're given a modest stipend that helps to defer our costs of transportation, local transportation around the county. I drive to a lot of meetings, spend a lot of time at them, and we're given a modest stipend for which we're very grateful and appreciative. And to me, that's sufficient. I don't think that we need to spend money for health care insurance for our part-time Board of Supervisors members. And I would rather see that money used somewhere else. So it's both a philosophical position on my part and also one because I'd like to see that money spent for other services that the county provides. So, you know, I'm the only one that's spoken on that. I can't speak for any of the other 4 board members on what their position is. But my position is a pretty simple one. I will oppose it. I will vote against it if it is raised. And if I am reelected and health insurance is offered for Board of Supervisors members, I will not accept it.
Okay.
So I'll vote against it, and I will not accept it if it passes and I'm reelected.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, Joe, before you can officially run again for your seat, you first have to get the Republican nomination for the Cloyd district. How can your supporters go about voting for you for the Republican nomination so that they can put you on the ballot?
Sure, I'll be happy to tell you about the Republican mass meeting. Is the means by which the Republican Party will be doing nominations this year. So I am currently a Republican. I've always been a Republican, and I am looking forward to the prospect of winning the Republican nomination again. And it would be a great honor and privilege for me to do so. The mass meeting of the Republican Party, where we will select those nominees or vote for those nominees by secret ballot, will be held on Thursday, April 25th. Registration begins at 5:30 p.m. Meeting begins at 7, so be in line by 6:45 if you want to get registered to vote at the meeting. The meeting will be held at the Central Gym in Pulaski, 143 3rd Street Northwest. The Central Gym is right behind the County Administrative Building in the same parking lot. At that meeting, people who want to vote for Board of Supervisors will vote for the supervisor in their district. So it would only be the people who live in the Cloyd district who could vote for me, and similarly for the other nominees. In addition to that, there will be candidates for constitutional offices, and we have 4 constitutional offices that are up for election this year. That is Treasurer, Commissioner of the Revenue, Sheriff, and Commonwealth's Attorney. At this point, I'm aware of candidates for the Republican nomination for Commissioner of Revenue and for Treasurer. And so anyone in the county would be able to vote for those folks. Now, to vote at the meeting, a person must be a registered voter in Pulaski County, and they must be someone who considers themselves to be a Republican or an independent. Of course, in Virginia, we don't register by the party. So it would be how you consider yourself. Or you consider yourself a Republican or an independent. If you're an independent, are you someone that says, I adhere to the values of the Republican Party, such as support for the free enterprise system and support for limited government? And anyone who says, yeah, I support those values, those big overall principles, is welcome to come to the meeting, as long as they're also a registered voter. Then they'll be able to vote for a candidate in their magisterial district or countywide for a constitutional office. Again, it's Thursday, April 25th at the Central Gym in the evening. Be there before 6:45.
Okay. Well, Joe, thank you for your time today. We appreciate everything you've done for Pulaski County so far, and we wish you the best of luck in the next election.
Hey, I appreciate it. It's what I do. You know, we're sitting here at my farm. My family has lived here in Pulaski County for 7 generations now, and this is my home. This is a place that I will live the rest of my life. I just want to make it as good of a place as it can be to live, and if I can help to do that by doing this activity, by doing this service, I'm happy to, and I'm happy to continue. And you know, if people will, I certainly would appreciate any support that I can get from that, and I deeply, deeply value everyone's vote. I know how valuable a vote is to a person, and I deeply value any votes that anyone chooses to give me.
Joe, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.